Hey folks, Brian, we got to play RQG tonight. Oh, Dragon Newt attack. Odd things when odd dice get rolled for odd numbers. So the tailed priest believes that the right action is to completely destroy this guy with the sign on his hand. um, all three of the beaked dragon newts were trusting his action. And in fact, they all made their follower rolls. Impulsive, charged to attack, trusting, stood back, and also invoked a dragon magic. The Crested Dragon Newt, aggressive and brave, but fumbled his dependability. So he's just kind of staying back in place. He works out his sling. He casts speed dart on it, and he's got mobility and coordination running, and he's just waiting for somebody to pop out. He's not going to take any real action. He's just going to wait till somebody shows up. And when somebody does show up, he starts slinging, even though there's dragon newts in the way. Okay, we got a couple guys rushing, and we got one guy standing back firing and using his breath weapon, which also the tailed priest has been doing. So, one thing I've done is I'm using the dragon newt magic description of fire breath and applying it to actual dragons as well. So, an actual dragon is doing 4d10 damage to general hit points and melting armor and weapons for 4 points. The beak dragon newt guy who's breathing out 1d10 damage, 1 point damage to weapons. The tailed priest is doing 2d10, so he's doing 2 points. That's how I'm modifying stuff. This is, my Glorantha, right? So it's melting weapons and stuff at 2. So he's been wrecking Davin's stuff. Not unless you do any damage, because there's something about the magic points, not the magic points, but the protecting for the armor, and I've got to change that. In fact, I probably just should do it. Armor doesn't protect. And there's the question of, does magic armor protect? Because it's kind of shifting on. If you look at the dragon, fire, frost, and the gas. The gas kept the same. The fire and frost kind of flip, right? That'll be to each location. Ah, yeah. I'm gonna look at that again. But anyway, so dragons wrecking gear and stuff. Not really getting any damage through because they got protection 5 up on the circle. So everybody inside's got that protection going. Plus other people have got shield up on themselves, so it's more stacked protection kind of thing. So, and then I've also got the tailed priest doing claw attacks. He's not quite fast enough to get 2 claw attacks plus his breath, and so he does breathe and then claw. And there's one turn where David moved, and if the tail priest was going to breathe, he would have gotten some of the dragon newts, and he made his honorable roll, so he's not going to do that. So that round he did 2 claws, and then he started breathing out at one of the other players. One of the dragon newts, the one beak dragon newt that is breathing, he stood back, he was firing with his bow. He got charged up on, so he did his leap, sprouted wings, is flying in the air, shooting down now. One of the issues that I've got with the whole firing into melee thing is, how much of a melee do you really count? Because the guy who's 3 hexes over there, even though he's involved with the melee, he's not going to be able to come over here to get shot at, right? So I'm now thinking maybe your target and everybody around him. your target and everybody around him. Or if there's a straight line, like with the slinger I had, there was the beak dragon David, and then the tailed priest, who had grown, by the way, as well. He doubled his, did his strength and a half thing, and then grew uh, by like triple. Um, so he's doing some massive damage when he actually hits. Um, but so fire into melee. I can picture the beak dragon who's flying, firing his longbow at somebody who's been slinging at him, and people saying, well, he's next to this guy who's next to that guy, but these guys aren't fighting. They're fighting somewhere else. They're not coming into and around. And I would have solved this completely if I went with my fantasy trip rules, which actually does line of sight issue things. Somebody in the way, roll to miss, roll to hit, kind of stuff. Or if they're in the line of sight, then you've got the firing into melee things. Maybe I'll discuss that with my players next time to loosen that up a bit. Because I know when I was at Gen Con and they had the cow with the rock lizards, chomping all over it involved, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4 rock lizards plus 2 hexes of cow plus any players got in the way. You're firing at rock lizard number 1. They're all right there, but they're not like shifting places away, which is the idea with if you're firing a melee is because people are shifting around. But if they're not shifting around because they're all facing this way, yeah, maybe I won't include that. But he's up 10 meters, right? So he should be able to shoot right down at him, so he's going to start doing that. But they brought up the Brew Ghost, who's engaged him with spirit combat. And I'm treating their breath weapon as magic. It is dragon magic. And I think I turned, because Davin's illuminate's not the right word. Well, maybe it is. He has access to dragon magic, and he was playing with doing the claws thing as this magical damage. And well, they're physical things, they're claw. But now I'm thinking about it, it's dragon magic, right? So, ooh, he should do claws. That's 2d6 instead of a d10 of magical damage against the spirit combat, doing magical damage kind of thing to spirits kind of deal. Yeah, I think I might do that. But I've got to correct, because at first I was thinking that they're just these giant claws. They're not really magical. But, it's dragon magic. So, maybe I'll do that. Anyway, so, massive combat. The Dragonoots are slowly getting picked down, at least a couple of them. The party, I actually don't know how well they're doing. I know David made a comment afterwards that if he wasn't enlightened and was able to access dragon magic, he'd be dead. Because he's done the hit point, magic point shift thing. And dragon armor. What else? That's about it. I think we did maybe 5 rounds of combat. But that's because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 guys that I'm running, and 2 of which are using dragon magic, trying to fit the stuff in to make it happen right. And trying to keep track of multiple tasks, because longbows fire twice around, and doing left and right, utuma, that kind of stuff. So things are happening. We did have a critical parry against a missed attack, I think it was, and completely broke a clanth. In fact, there was enough force behind that parry that it went through the clanth and into the Dragonoot's leg. Actually did a couple points of damage through his armor. Anyway, nasty fight. Oh, burning rune points left and right. In fact, we had a fumbled rune point thing, so rune points gone, no magic. We got some multi spells going. So and nearly all the Dragonoots are now demoralized. That's the one thing that has really saved these guys. All these demoralized Dragonoots. Happy gaming.